Hey, everybody. Good evening. Thank you
yeah.
for being here. Thank you for sharing this program and being with us tonight for Mexican Crossing Lines.
Mm-hmm.
This is your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And this is Duke Gomez-Schempp.
And you're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a very important upcoming hearing. And I don't think that it's been talked about enough. I think that it's been kind of hushed and swept under the rug. And it has to do with Darren Patterson. Darren Patterson is a man who killed a local man named Jamie Grant here in Fargo. This happened last year.
Yeah.
In fact, in the show prior to this, in which I was talking about police, I mentioned the fact that there was a guy that punched a man out in the middle of Broadway and killed him, and that he had not been punished for what he had done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his trial, Darren Patterson, is coming up very soon, I believe next month.
Yep, in February. Mm-hmm.
And you got to hear about Darren Patterson. You have to hear about his victim, Jamie Grant, who is dead, who cannot speak for himself anymore because he's no longer with us. And you need to hear about the incredible way in which this story was reported through the media.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's shocking what happened to Jamie Grant's story. Very little was said about Jamie Grant and who he really is, which is why I'm going to share with you more about him on today's show. I also wanted to... I forgot. I wanted to talk about this in the last show. I'd have to try to bring up that document now and find it. What was the name of the last show, Duke? Was it something about the cops? I cannot remember right now. Why can't I remember? Anyway, in that show, I wanted to share an article with you from that previous show in which... because we were talking about Sheriff Laney, wasn't it?
Yep, Sheriff Laney.
Political posturing, was that it?
Yep, exactly.
Can you open that one real quick? And was that... Did we talk about that one? No. I don't know if that was the last one. I don't know if that was the last one.
Okay, sorry.
It was something else. It was about cops. I know it was about the cops because I remember the songs that you played too on the radio. Anyway, there was another article. It was about the guy they killed, Jason Mosier.
Yeah.
It was about the cops killing and the fact that we were being told now again a news story about why Jason Mosier died or how he really died. Well, there was an article connected to that, where Paul Laney said, we are being hunted.
Mm-hmm.
And in this article, there was another story about some police misconduct in Grand Forks, I think. Here it is. Somebody wrote this. I believe it's a blog called hellycummings.me.wordpress.com. Anyway, I'm going to give you the link. I'll give y'all the link in the comments of the show. In fact, right now I'm going to toss this new link at the very top of all of the links we have for today's show so that Nemo can add it in the comments. Here it is. And I recommend you check this out. People are hunting us, North Dakota. Okay, I want you guys to check this out. I'm not going to go into it today because I'm going to focus on Darren Patterson, but I really wanted to show you the kind of corruption that we have out here in North Dakota with the police. It's relevant to what I'm going to tell you about today. Take the spoon, will you? And put that away for me. And so, sorry. My work as a mom is never done, even when I'm working on other things. Ooh, super hot tea. Very, very hot tea. Okay, switching to water right now. So, in this article that I have just shared with you from this blog, this person that wrote this gathered a lot of information about the Grand Forks Police Department and how they were involved in shooting a man in broad daylight outside of the hospital. Do you remember that story, Duke, where the cops like rained gunfire down on this man who was like unarmed, and he was like calling 911 while they were shooting at him to ask them to stop shooting at him because he's unarmed. And this article is seemingly implying that the Grand Fork police, for some reason, wanted to murder that man, and were in the process of trying to kill him. His wife said she was talking to 911 while this was happening, and that the cops knew that he wasn't armed. So check it out. Check out this article. This is something I wanted to share with you when I was talking about the corruption of the police, when I was talking about the way that the local cops have lied to us in the past, probably are lying to us now. And this is not because I have animosity. This is accountability. Everyone deserves to have the proper information about what their police departments are doing, what kind of powers they have, because they have guns.
Yes, exactly.
They can kill us.
And they're supposed to be the protect and serve, the whole idea that law enforcement is supposed to be there for the people, which isn't true. I mean, it's like, look at the history. Look at the history of where law enforcement came from. They were positioned to be slave catchers, and they were positioned to be the protectors of business and industry, and to protect businesses against striking workers. They've been thugs all along, and now they tried to rebrand themselves as this great community thing. There needs to be accountability, and there's such little accountability across this country. It's hard not to not trust them, and because they haven't earned our trust. So it's totally understandable that we have questions. And when you have questions and they don't get answered, we have more questions. I mean, it's totally logical that they are a service of the people, and yet there's no accountability to the people.
And it feels like a very abusive relationship where you have to like them and you must respect them, even if they don't have to share any accountability with you, as they are killing people that are unarmed, as there are deaths within the police department. These are all things that are happening in our community. As we're seeing these things happen all across the country, and we're not supposed to ask any questions. We can continue to be violently repressed, mistreated, and we're not supposed to say anything. I think that we should hold all of these entities accountable. And the Darren Patterson case is a perfect example of how it's the media working in complicity with the cops that allow people like Patterson to get away with murder. I said it. To get away with murder. A year or two ago now, it's been two, hasn't it? When I investigated the case of John Torres.
It's been two, yeah.
It's been two. That was another case of a man who was murdered by 4 vigilantes in a bar. He was jumped and he was punched, knocked to the ground, cracked his head open. He was then driven by an emergency to the emergency room at a hospital where he fell into a coma and died. He was attacked on Christmas Day. He died on New Year's Eve, and he was buried on January 6th, which is incidentally his birthday.
Wow.
He left a widow and 4 children, the youngest of age 6, with cancer. A child with cancer. A partner of 17 years, Rita, his beloved wife. And this case was treated miserably by the media, by the police. I couldn't even get the police chief to respond to any of my questions at the time. They only charged one person, and that person got away with murder. They decided to try to go for felony something. They weren't going to charge him with murder. They weren't going to charge him with manslaughter even. I think they were going to charge him with aggravated assault. Yeah. And they ended up only giving him misdemeanor charges for killing a man who, after he gave that beating to, he bragged about publicly on social media. Why is all of this important for me to tell you? Because I believe this is going to happen again. I believe we are going to watch, we are going to be witness to a man getting away with murder right here in our town. This man, Darren Patterson, after he killed Jamie Grant, was given bail access almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And even though he killed a man, he also severely injured 2 other men who were with Jamie Grant, one of whom was his brother, Jamie Grant's brother. He sustained a severe head injury from this attack by Darren Patterson on all 3 of these men. And a colleague of theirs, a friend of theirs, also was injured. All of them were punched. All of them were hit by Darren Patterson in this attack. And yet this man was allowed not only to get bail, he was allowed to leave North Dakota and return to Las Vegas. Now, I think that that's a remarkable thing because it seems to me like that's very special treatment. If you will recall, I covered the case of Kathleen Bennett, in which Kathleen was given the no possibility of leaving a certain area, even after she was able to make bail or allowed to get bail. And that was 6 months. She spent 6 months in jail. Okay.
We, for some reason, we're not transmitting at the moment. Wow. We're still hooked up. We got 0 kilobytes. Okay. We just reconnected. We're not losing packets, so.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on. We do apologize for...
do you need to...
No, we're coming back.
We're coming back? Okay.
Sorry, folks. Those of you who are still with us, we had a little lag there. For some reason, we stopped transmitting. We are again. So we're just going to... Continue on.
Okay. Hopefully we won't have any more of those problems.
Yep.
All right. In the midst of all of this, it seems to me that Darren Patterson doesn't just have amazing luck. I think Darren Patterson is being very protected, whether it is because he is rich, well-connected, whether he is somehow protected by his skin color or the fact that he is a white man. I don't know. What do you think, Duke? Why do you think this guy is getting away with murder?
Well, when I looked at, you can go to the North Dakota site and look up, arrest records, and I looked up his name, just type in Darren Patterson, and it actually shows some previous charges that he's had for some sort of aggravated assault. But then the specific one that he was arrested for and charged, they actually waited for a while, and they kept his records out of the public for a while. But his bail was $100,000, and it was a type of bond that was secured through a third party. And I think it was some sort of insurance agency. I think it was State Farm. But I don't know. This guy is getting special treatment from the press and from the prosecution. I mean, for them to seal documents for a period of time, because they're worried about. They said they were worried about, the notoriety of this case, even though the media has done a horrible job. We have some stuff we're going to show you tonight that the media actually did print, but it's hard to find, and there wasn't that much printed about someone dying downtown Fargo, right in the middle of our main Broadway street, where the main businesses are downtown. Someone was killed, in the evening, when a lot of people were there outside, and yet it was just hit the news and went away. And we didn't hear who the victim was. We didn't hear about him at all.
We didn't hear very much.
We didn't hear very much about who he was, who his family was, and what was going on. Made it sound like he was just some bar fight downtown again, and the guy died,
Yes, they did. And this is why that's so strange, okay? I'm going to lay out for you the things they didn't say in the media so that you can understand why it was so bizarre that what was said about this case was so sparse, was very not all-encompassing, not very in-depth about the guy that died, Jamie Grant. Okay? And why that's relevant. Let's start with the fact that this occurred downtown at the Hodo. For those of you who don't know what the Hodo is, it is an upscale restaurant owned, by the way, by none other than Karen Stoker, formerly Karen Burgum, who is the ex-wife of the current governor of the state of North Dakota, Doug Burgum. Okay? And so y'all can imagine the folk that hang out there, the people that hang out there. I have gone there on a number of occasions and run into radio people, politicians. Yep. What kind of people go there, Duke?
Well, it's a
rich people.
Yeah, it's a swanky place in Fargo. I mean, it's a place where the popular people and the elite will hang out and go out for an evening. They'll have music playing. They focus on different art displays. It's actually a hotel. It was originally the Hotel Donaldson, which was a SRO, a single resident occupancy. Mainly homeless men lived there. Mm-hmm. And through downtown Fargo's being renovated by gentrified.
Let me correct you. Yep,
gentrified by Doug Burgum himself. Owns a lot of property in downtown Fargo, and his ex-wife
too
does also, and it took this hotel and kicked all the homeless people out, and they made it into a schwanky place. Mm-hmm. So the times I've been there, I always run into people who are like TV personalities and people in government and people involved in the arts and people hanging out downtown. So it's a schwanky place. Yeah,
this isn't some dive bar where Joe Schmo got into a fight with Joe the plumber and somebody punched somebody else and this kind of thing. Okay, even if things happen inside of the Hodo, being that it is the property of Karen Stoker, the governor's ex-wife, do you really think people get in trouble there a lot? Do you believe there are cops walking through this bar, patrolling the perimeter like they do the other dive bars in town? No.
No, and this place has valet parking too, which is pretty rare for Fargo. So it's like one of the only places that you can drive up and they'll go park your car. And it's like I said, it's a very well lit, a very centralized place in downtown Fargo.
It is very centralized, and also it has two sides of the building where the bar and part of the restaurant are all made out of glass on the first floor. So if you're walking by or driving by the Hodo, you can see the people inside and they can see you. And this hotel is located on Broadway, which is in downtown Fargo, an area that is pretty trafficked all times of the year, well lit, okay?
Yep.
Even into the evening, as it is a central location of entertainment and commerce in our town. There are a number of cameras, surveillance cameras that have been installed over the last decade, I want to say, all over the Fargo downtown at the request of law enforcement for the purposes of surveilling, but they say protecting the downtown area. Now, in addition to that, let me add that on this night, like many others, but on this night, there were a bunch of people at the Hodo who witnessed what happened, both inside the building and outside of the building, including one reporter from the Fargo Forum who witnessed the attacks himself and wrote about them. So, I want to start by showing you the scene outside of the Hodo that night. These images are graphic. You can see the glass I was mentioning right there. See the glass? All the glass. Lots of glass. Okay. Also, here's another picture. You can actually see right into the Hodo. If you look at the picture that I'm showing you right now, you can see they can look right into the Hodo. And if you look at the glass in the glass image that's right between the police officer and the man in the gray shirt that is in the forefront of this image, you can see a man at a table in the background. You can see his head. There's tables. That's the inside of what the Hodo, that bar lounge area, looks like. I know, I've sat there. And it looks out directly at the location where, as you can see on the floor, the man is still laying there. The man that was killed.
Yeah.
Okay? So this was witnessed by a lot of people. And it happened at a bar. I think that's a significant thing. And I'll tell you why in a minute here. But let me read to you from the article written by Archie Ingersoll. I've spoken to him on a number of occasions, and he's interviewed me for things. So this is titled, "I Became a Witness to a One-Punch Homicide. The Forum reporter recounts fatal fight outside Fargo hotspot." This was published June 10, 2017. And he wrote, "The call came in as my Saturday shift was winding down. It was almost 11 p.m. and I was the only Forum reporter on duty. The police scanner on my desk started squawking and I heard 911 dispatcher alert officers to a fight at the Hodo restaurant and lounge. Knowing the upscale bar," he said it too, see, "was just a block from the newspaper's downtown building, I hustled out the newsroom and down a couple flights of stairs. I went out an exit that put me on First Avenue North. As soon as I stepped into the warm night air, I looked west and saw a fight in progress on the sidewalk along the south side of the Hodo. Keep in mind the fight was already happening when I got outside. I didn't see what transpired in the bar and I don't know how much I missed of the fight on the sidewalk. What I did see was a man in a white shirt that glowed almost electric in the light from the Hodo. This, I would later learn, was Darren Patterson. Note, he mentions glowed in the light of the hodo. Well lit, you can see good what's going on. I saw him first clash with a man I would later learn was Christopher Sang. In another article later on, which infuriated me, by the way, because it looks like a fluff piece for Darren Patterson. Like, Darren Patterson, what an amazing, strong, powerful man who can punch people out with one punch. Mm-hmm. After this guy killed someone, that's how they were writing about him, and it's crazy. But Christopher Sang, this man he's mentioning in the article, is his previous record of some kind of an assault is brought up in that article when Christopher Sang, along with the other two men he was with, Jamie Grant and Jamie Grant's brother, were the victims of Darren Patterson. All three of them were assaulted. All three of them were knocked to the ground. Two of them received severe brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, and one of them died.
Wow, yeah.
That's what happened. And somehow they're trotting out Christopher Sang's previous assault in his record that he had. Christopher Sang, I looked up his in LinkedIn, and that dude is a front-end web developer at Uncommon Goods from Greater New York area. He's in information technology and services. These men all probably worked at Microsoft, which is where Jamie had worked for 15 years. He was about to be a professor at NDSU. He was one semester shy of getting his second master's degree in engineering. That's who Jamie Grant was. By the way, it was never mentioned in the media that Jamie Grant and his brother, both of whom were assaulted along with Mr. Sang, are all people of color.
Exactly.
That James Kelly Grant was a enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Chippewa Indians. That he and these three men, all three of them people of color, were attacked by a white man. No, it was never mentioned Jamie was Native. Why? Why was it never mentioned that Jamie was Native? Okay, I'm going back to the article real quick. I'll get to the obituary in a minute because you need to know more about Jamie Grant. Obviously, nobody wanted you to know, so we're going to tell you. The article goes on to say that... oops, I lost my spot. I went to the different article. Being that it was nighttime and I was a block away, I can't tell you specifically how Patterson struck Sang, though I can say with certainty that I saw Patterson strike Sang and that Sang quickly fell to the ground. Patterson then moved a few feet toward another man. Notice that important piece of information. Patterson moved toward another man who was standing off to the side by the corner of the Hodo building near the alley that runs behind it. This was Jamie Grant. He stood facing west with his back to me. Grant was closer to me than Sang, who at this point was lying unconscious on the ground. I heard one of the men say something like, "Oh, now you're going to fight me?" But I'm not certain whether it was Patterson or Grant speaking. My guess would be that it was Grant, the guy that was killed.
Yeah, that's what I think.
From my perspective, I couldn't tell how Grant was presenting himself to Patterson or whether Grant made any move toward Patterson. However, I did see Patterson punch Grant squarely in the head. So he saw this guy move toward Grant, heard someone say, "Oh, are you going to fight me now?" And then saw the guy punch Grant squarely in the head. He meant to cause serious damage. He knocked every one of the men he punched out. He knocked them unconscious, each one of them. This is not something that someone can just do magically. You need to have special skills to be that precise and knock 3 men out. A couple of them, I believe, who were even taller than Patterson, or taller than him. So let me just point that out. And he goes on to say, and Grant, a taller man than Patterson, fell straight to the ground with nothing breaking his fall. His head hit the pavement of the alley with a resounding crack. For those of you who have heard this sound, you know how awful it is. For those of you who haven't, I hope you never do. As Grant lay unconscious with blood streaming from his head, Patterson walked away. Let that sink in. He walked away after he punched and killed this man. He did not stop to check. He did not care to check on the well-being of these men. From that time I saw Patterson, next it says, Patterson, then almost immediately, this guy's walking away. Yeah. Squad cars pulled up. Patterson put his arms in the air. Another officer handed the squad cars. From the time I saw Patterson send Sang to the ground to when police arrived was only a matter of seconds.
Wow.
Let me interject this. Seems to me then the Hodo called the police after these men left the bar because, and they should have, it's good that they called the police. I don't know how smart it was to have sent them one through one door and one through the other door. Yeah. If it was apparent that there might be some kind of a violent altercation, especially when you look at the size of Darren Patterson. I mean, this guy is huge. This is Darren Patterson. He is a bodybuilder, but my guess is he's also some other kind of, I don't think he just lifts weights, because you don't get that precise at punching people in such a way that you knock them out with one punch without some kind of special training. And incidentally, he lives in Las Vegas. Remember I told you he was allowed to return to Las Vegas? How? But he was. Remember, an elder woman, Kathleen Bennett, who did not, there is no way that she could have committed the crime she was accused of, whom we had proven there was no evidence of she doing this crime. She was held in a jail for 6 months for a crime that did not hurt a single person, that did not injure anyone. This man killed another man, gave a permanent brain injury to a second man, and, punched a third unconscious. And he was out on bail and back home.
Yeah, there was no conditions on his bail either. He
None.
could travel. He could go to Las Vegas. He could go wherever he wanted. And Kathleen Bennett, she had bail, $10,000 bail, but she was restricted to a few counties, right around Bismarck. Sioux and Burley and
Polk.
Yeah. And so, her bail, she had restrictions, and it was $10,000. This guy had $100,000 bail, and he could go anywhere, and he has, and his trial is being heard in February. This happened in June, he didn't spend time in jail like Kathleen had to. So.
Well, I will not go through the rest of the article of what he witnessed.
So let me get this clear. Yes. That was a reporter that was on duty who witnessed this man getting knocked to the ground
And killed, yeah.
and killed and died. And that was his story.
This is not the whole story.
Okay.
It's not the whole story. And I would like you guys to, go through all of this yourselves. I want to pick out the most important salient points for you because I think it's, very important for you to understand who this is, who Jamie Grant is, the guy that died, who Darren Patterson is, and why it is crazy, bonkers, bananas that this case did not get more attention in the media, having happened where it did. And here's another tidbit of information that y'all need to know, all of you watching who don't know who our governor is, because a lot of you who are not from this area, who don't listen to us here in the Fargo-Moorhead metro area, where we're broadcasting right now on 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo-Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves, you wouldn't know who Doug Burgum is, or why he is famous, or how he became who he is now. Doug Burgum is a very, very rich man. Do you know how he got to become so rich? Do you know?
Yeah.
Tell him.
Well, he ran a company called Great Plains Software, which was a proprietary accounting software. Very successful with that in Fargo. And one day Microsoft was buying up. Microsoft is very famous for buying up any sort of competition, making it theirs, because that's how they become the monster of a company that they are. They came in and they bought Great Plains and made it into Microsoft, and they made a Microsoft branch in Fargo. And Burgum ran that for a period of time till he got bought out or whatever, went on to his other stuff he does now, which rich people do. He's investing in gentrifying buildings downtown Fargo, and redoing, making lofts and making places where poor people live, expensive places for rich people to hang out downtown. And then he ran for governor and won. This last year, and he became Governor Burgum. So this guy has lots of business invested in Fargo, and now he's a main governor of the state, North Dakota.
He was seen at the time like a cool hipster boss. He used to roller skate through Great Plains. He had long hair, like a hippie. And he came off as one of those, real hipster millionaires. Yeah. That's how he was portrayed, even in the Wall Street Journal when they spoke about him and the buyout and all the crazy things this guy had accomplished. But really, and I want you to be 100 right now, okay? Just what is his great claim to fame? It's selling Great Plains to
Microsoft.
Was that company that great of a thing that it got bought out by Microsoft?
No,
was he some innovator of something, or what did he do?
No, Microsoft also is famous for just buying up the competition. And the Fargo campus is seen as kind of an orphan child of Microsoft. It's really not important. It doesn't add much to their bottom line. In this community, people, Microsoft, they fall on the ground and start worshiping whoever Microsoft is here. But it's really from the company standpoint, it's a really small potatoes. It's a really small operation, and it really doesn't add that much to them. But they keep it because there is a type of monopolistic company that does stuff like that. So they buy out the competition, and they're all about their brand and promoting, and they're famous for that. So it's not really that big of a deal. But people in this community, I'm being blasphemous right now for talking bad about Microsoft.
I know.
You got to understand, Microsoft is evil. Microsoft is forced us to use their software and purchase their software, and it has made technology expensive for us. Even though they say they've made it easy for us, Microsoft makes it so we have to do what they want to do with software. It's on most computer systems, and it's really hard for people to break away from that and use open source and do things that way because of the micro scared thing that they have on everybody. So it's not that big of a deal that there's a Microsoft. They're always threatening to close it too. Fargo just gave them a big, huge tax break to try to keep them here. Oh, we'll give you money. We'll give you money. We'll give you money to keep you here. We'll give you money to keep you here. They do that all the time to try to keep Microsoft here because they employ a lot of people. People do have jobs there, and they get paid good.
They do employ a lot of people. But after the sellout of Great Plains Software to Microsoft, when it became Microsoft, the Microsoft campus, a lot of people lost their jobs working there. Lots of people did because they downsized.
Yeah.
So they kept a core of people and downsized a lot of others. My brother was one of the people that got downsized.
Yeah.
But a lot of other people, especially engineers, the people that were the developers and stuff, a lot of those people retained pretty choice jobs, what you would call choice jobs, with all the good bennies and like they have really great campuses with all of these amenities for the workers and all of that, right?
Yep.
And so the people that continued to work at Microsoft after it was sold by Doug Burgum and Karen Burgum were people that had previously worked for Doug and Karen Burgum, and whom, by all accounts, the Burgums treated less like employees and more like members of their own family. Is this not correct?
That's correct.
Isn't this the way they talked about the experience of working for Doug Burgum?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That, like he was your pal. He was the guy that was like,
Well, and also is that we have a nation with people who are famous.
Rich.
As rich and famous as somehow
rich.
You're rich and famous because you align with them. So whenever these people are out in public, and if you know them, or you'll go try to be next to them, it's this whole celebrity status that we as white Americans tend to idolize. And it's pretty much the turf of idolizing the Burgums here in this community. Like I said, I'm people listening to this or watching this. It's the way I feel. I've lived here for many years, over 30 years, and I have a right to have an opinion about how I see the celebrities in Fargo as being something not that big of a deal that a lot of other people supposedly look up to. And now you're looking up to the Burgum as the governor, which is totally different than his lifestyle he was leading before. He's pretty much Kilborn Group, buy up all the property and resell it and get tax breaks from the city and government and build stuff for rich people on poor people's dime, basically.
And here's why it's significant that you know the history of Mr. Burgum, our current governor, and how this bar, the Hodo, where this death occurred outside and the fight began inside of that bar, why that's significant, why that it is connected to his ex-wife, who was the wife that he was running Microsoft with. That was who he was married to at the time that he was working at Microsoft. What became Microsoft and the people that worked there prior, because Jamie Grant worked for 15 years at Microsoft. So it is very likely that Jamie Grant one time worked for Karen and Doug Burgum. It is also very little known information that Mr. Grant and his family obviously had connections and a degree of comfort, economic comfort, wealth that he and his family likely did, because let's go now to hold on a moment. I want to go now to an article in the Bismarck Tribune, which was printed on June 6th of 2017 by Kim Hyatt and Robin Hubner of the Forum News Service, in which they talk about what happened during this altercation. There was a photo of the family, Jamie Grant's family. That's his wife and child his widow and his child. But there was one of a group of people he was with on the day that he was killed.
Oh, okay.
That was published along with on social media, where he is at a downtown eatery, and Jamie Grant is surrounded by his family and friends May 27th. Later that same night, outside of the Hodo restaurant and lounge, Grant was punched once, fell, hit his head on the pavement, and suffered a traumatic brain injury. The 45-year-old husband and father of a young boy died Monday, said his father Cornelius. His organs were donated. Grant was out celebrating graduations and reunions, according to a Caring Bridge site set up in his name. A Hodo bartender told police Jamie Grant, brother Jeff Grant, and friend Christopher Sang got into a fight with Darren Patterson in the bar. Patterson, 43. This is one thing I can't understand. There's no description in any of the articles that I could find of the fight that happened in the bar.
Yeah.
Because from what I can tell, if Darren Patterson touches you, you're going to be unconscious. Mm-hmm. So there must have been a war of words. It must have been a verbal altercation, because there's no way that these men had a physical altercation in which one of them or multiples of them would not have ended up seriously injured or killed by Darren Patterson.
Exactly.
So, and the fact that it is always described this way, every time I read what happened inside the bar, because something happened inside the bar, it started inside the bar, it says that Jamie, Jeff, and Chris got into a fight with Patterson. Now, let me stop right there. Does that sound reasonable to you? When you look at Darren Patterson, please put the picture of Darren Patterson up again. This is Darren Patterson. This is what he looks like. This is his body, okay? He looks like a very big, powerful man. This man works out. This man weight trains, and who knows what else he trains in. He looks like some kind of MMA fighter to me, or one of those people that tries to pull cars with his teeth, or like flip those tractor tires. Doesn't he look like that?
Yep, exactly.
Or a boxer, possibly. And he was in this bar when this big meathead guy, who in a previous bar fight, imagine that, this guy assaulted another person at a bar fight previously in the past. And the way that bar fight went down was like this. He got into a bar fight because he thought someone was looking at him funny. So he called that person over, was like, "What you looking at?" That's the kind of person Darren is. He's the "what you looking at" guy.
Yeah, even
here he is. Note that this is I believe that's his wife in the background. Not positive, but I believe it is. He's wearing a shirt that says, excuse my language here, talk beep. It's the expletive for poop. Okay. Talk shiz, get hit. And this is, are you going to tell me this is not the kind of guy that attacks first, that aggresses? This is the guy who had people fighting with him? Because the way that it is written in these articles, it sounds like they want to make it seem like 3 guys went against 1.
Yeah.
3 guys. But they didn't tell you this guy is a juggernaut with these giant arms and hands that look like jackhammers. And the bias in the way that they've they've talked about Jamie so little. The bias in which they have, the way they have put the light of this story on this story is just very, very disturbing to me. It seems very biased in his favor, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. Why?
Yeah.
Because I looked up his previous addresses. He lives in Las Vegas. So if any of my listeners and viewers in Las Vegas know anything about Darren Patterson's other careers, because he got the most expensive criminal defense attorney in this town, in this region, Bruce Quick. Mm-hmm. That's who he hired from the Vogel law firm, the most expensive, the best, arguably, criminal defense attorney that money can buy, which tells you he has it, the money. Mm-hmm. Also recently, I believe in September of last year, he sold a house in Las Vegas at an address that was registered as him, as the owner, for $400,000, upwards of $400,000. Darren Patterson did, maybe to cover his legal fees. I don't know. But you know what I do know? I find it very hard to believe that this guy can be a millionaire from weightlifting, if that's his only occupation, when his business, which is discussed in the articles that I will be sharing with you today, indicate that this guy sells pots and pans, has some kind of like Ponzi scheme. This is my interpretation, folks. This is my interpretation. This feels like Amway for pots and pans to me. Some kind of a deal like that. It's called Home Run Products, LLC, which filed as a domestic limited liability company in the state of Nevada on Friday, January 3rd, 2014, and is approximately 4 years old, as recorded in documents filed with the Nevada Secretary of State. So I did look up his past known last known addresses in Vegas and checked out other places where he has lived, which include Sioux City, Iowa, West Jordan, Utah, and Moorhead, Fargo Moorhead in North Dakota and Minnesota. So I believe that there is more to where his income is derived from than pots and pans.
Yeah.
Even in one of the articles that I will be sharing with you here, it is noted that his business has had several complaints to the Better Business Bureau. And many of them have come from the employees as well, saying that even though he advertises that those who sell his pots and pans at this business will be making six figures, and, you know, he makes it seem like it's a get rich quick type of a scheme that you can enter into and become a millionaire like him. Mm-hmm. They don't really actually make any money, and they have to pay a lot of their costs for traveling and selling these pots and pans at trade shows on their own dime and are not reimbursed. And there's more and more and more of that. So I think it's very interesting that this man, who was allowed to go out on bail, $100,000 bail, and gets the most expensive attorney, who, if I'm trying to figure out just, you know, like ballpark figure off the top of my head, $50,000 to $100,000 on retainer for the defense of a case of this magnitude at that law firm, right? And the sealing of the documents in this case originally by a judge who was requested by no one to do such a thing, for reasons that still seem strange to me. All of these things lead me to conclude there's something very, very strange about the case of Darren Patterson killing Jamie Grant. Again, an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Chippewa tribe, whose life was taken by Darren Patterson in one punch, and who was barely mentioned afterwards, other than as a guy that got killed in a bar fight. That's very, very different than who this guy really is. There was an outpouring of support for him here in this community. GoFundMe that was set up for the family raised nearly $50,000 in 1 week's time. And, as I said, he had a good job, but, you can never replace a father, especially to a young man a man of that age. He was very young. He was originally from Bismarck. He graduated at Minot State University. Let me read you his obituary now, because I believe that the media avoided telling you what was lost, who we lost in James Kelly Grant, who died June 5th, 2017. He passed away from a traumatic brain injury, which was caused by Darren Patterson. He was born February 20, 1972. Jamie was the youngest of 5 children to Cornelius and Rose Grant. He was the light of the family and was blessed with an immeasurable bond to his parents and siblings. Growing up in Bismarck, Jamie forged lifelong friendships. He attended Dorothy Moses Elementary, Wachter Junior High, and graduated from Bismarck High School in 1990. College brought Jamie to the University of North Dakota, where he was a member of the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity. It didn't take long for anyone to be drawn to Jamie's positive energy and fun-loving spirit. His Alpha Tau Omega brothers, his fraternity brothers, and college friends were friendships held very close to his heart. It was at UND where Jamie met the love of his life, Jenny Robinson. Jamie and Jenny married October 2nd, 2004. Their love story won't end here. Jamie's higher education accomplishments are numerous. A Bachelor of Science, Business Administration, Minot State University, Masters of Business Management, University of Mary, and a Masters of Business Administration, University of Mary, and 1 semester shy of receiving his Masters of Software Engineering from NDSU. Following college, Jamie was honored to accept an internship for North Dakota Senator Kent Conrad. It was one of the highlights of his life. Working at the USDA of Rural Development in Bismarck, North Dakota, followed. Let me stop right there. I knew 3 people that interned for Congress members. All of them were the children of the attorneys I worked for, who are rich people. Yes, they call themselves Democrats. Yes, they call themselves progressive, etc., etc. But they're very rich and they're very powerful people. Okay? He's not dead. I know Kent Conrad. I knew him when he was a member of Congress, as well as Dorgan, as well as Pomeroy, because they were all friends with my boss and stopped at the office frequently. They're still my friends on Facebook. I met them personally when I went to Washington. I met their aides. I met them here in town at different events that they went to. And let me say that the honor, as it is referred to here, of being able to internship for one of these members of Congress is not just an opportunity. It is a stepping stone. For each and every one of these people that get those opportunities, it is a stepping stone to further their careers in whatever they choose to do. One of the people that worked for a member of Congress from the children of my boss, who was a lawyer. Also, his children, some of them became lawyers, some of them didn't. But those internships led to other jobs in government, like the USDA, specifically the USDA. They also went on to work in the state legislature.
Yeah.
These people are climbing a ladder. Jamie Grant was on that track. He was on that track. He interned for Kent Conrad, and soon thereafter, he worked for the USDA. Then he moved to Fargo and began his career at the Great Plains Software. And what did I tell you was the name of the business sold by our governor? Great Plains Software. There it is. He worked for Doug and Karen Burgum.
Yeah.
And he died in a building owned by Karen Burgum, now Stoker. After an altercation in a bar in which it would have been apparent to anybody watching the disproportionate, the unequal unfairness of a fight between these three men of color and this giant white man, this giant monstrosity of a man, Darren Patterson, who knocked all three of them unconscious and killed one of them. And let me also say that since there was alcohol involved, and since there is this thing called the Dram Shop Act, the Dram Shop Act holds liable a bar for any injury that results from a party that consumed alcohol at your establishment. I am assuming that such was the case here. The alcohol consumption, since they were in a bar. So liability is inferred, in my opinion, as it was in the case of John Torres. And I was correct. So just keep that in mind. Just lock it away right there. Put a pin in it. Lock it away. Because I think that's very substantial. I think that's very important that this family not received justice for the death of Jamie Grant is going to be shoved aside, that this death is going to be swept under the rug, that this is going to be passed off as some bar fight killing, when indeed there is something much more sinister going on. I will read a little bit more of his obituary. Nima, why don't you do it? I'll make you do it. Because
I just had to say that.
Yeah, you do that.
It is horrible. I mean, this is just really horrible. What happened to him? You know, just thinking about that. You're out for evening for drinks and downtown, and they get into an altercation. You know, people fight. You know, and you step outside and you're dead. I mean, that's horrible. It's very horrible. But Nemo's going to read on with the obituary.
Mm-hmm. Having recently received his 15-year anniversary award from Microsoft, Jamie held many roles over the years. His contributions were considerable and far-reaching. Technical lead for software support, project manager in software development, and most recently, a technical solutions professional position on the WWIS team. He loved his job and was especially excited that his recent work led him to work with a number of professional sports teams. Throughout his Microsoft career, Jamie was awarded numerous individual and team awards for his leadership and teamwork. As a Dynamics CRM expert, Jamie was asked to teach a spring semester course at NDSU this year. He was also one of the 40 community professionals chosen to join the FMWF Chamber of Commerce 2017 Leadership Program. Two experiences that he loved. The loss of Jamie's incredible mind and presence has deeply affected his Microsoft family, not only in Fargo, but worldwide. He was a mentor and friend to so many. Flags will be lowered in Jamie's honor at the Microsoft campus in Fargo. On October 12, 2008, Jamie and Jenny welcomed James Wrigley, their miracle son. Jamie was the best dad in the whole world. Sports, technology, superheroes, music, movies, Star Wars, comic books. Jamie wasn't done sharing his amazing breadth of knowledge and interests with his son. James was blessed with his dad's brilliant mind, kind and benevolent personality, and handsome features. No one will ever break the bond that James and his daddy have. Jamie's interests were well known as they were typically displayed in the form of concert t-shirt. Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters, The Replacements. The more obscure the show was, Jamie was there with his core group of best friends. Everyone will miss his undeniable sense of humor and wit. He always had the best attitude, and his laughter and smile will be missed. A huge hole will be left in his fantasy football and fantasy baseball leagues. He commissioned the leagues for over 20 years. No one knew more about athletes, and no one could keep this group together better than Jamie. A phenom when it came to movies. He knew every detail from the release date to whom it was directed and produced by. You could recite a line from a film and he could name it. Of special importance to him, Jamie followed politics closely at many levels and could always explain the significance of government and politicians. As an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, Jamie's Native American heritage was a proud part of his life, and tremendous sadness is felt by his Belcourt, North Dakota family. Jamie is survived by his wife Jenny Robinson and their son, James Wrigley, age 8. Parents Cornelius and Rose Jolly Grant, Bismarck, North Dakota. Sister Carrie Usera, Mario, Liberty, Missouri. Brother Ed Grant, Fort Yates, North Dakota. Sister Jolly Marcellus, Pete, Mandan, North Dakota, and brother Jeff Deb, Bismarck, North Dakota. Parents-in-law David and Linda Matson Robinson, Grand Forks, North Dakota, and brothers-in-law Chris, Sarah Robinson, and Mike Robinson, both of Grand Forks, North Dakota. Nephews and nieces Evan Grant, Faden Marcellus, Shayla Marcellus, Gabby Usera, Grace, Anna, and Lauren Robinson. Jake Schaefer, godchildren Owen Prept and Lauren Robinson. Jamie was loved very dearly by all of his aunts, uncles, and cousins, extended family. Our entire family is humbled by the outpouring of support and generosity during this very difficult time. To his friends and colleagues, Jamie looked up to you. Your lives, families, and achievements inspired him, and not a day went by that he didn't speak proudly of you. Our hearts are forever broken. Jamie was an amazing person that made each of us and the world better. In keeping with his generous spirit, Jamie's organs were donated so that others may live.
You know, and this man should have been mourned in this community, you know, for all accomplishments. And when indigenous people, Native people get killed and die in our community, people talk about it. People talk about it. The Native community talks about it a lot. And this man should have been talked about for the past 6 months. He should have been mentioned. I didn't know any of this. All I heard was the media and about this guy who's a one-punch wonder that's knocking people out and killing them with one punch. You know, and that's what I remember of this story. Nothing about the victim. I just think, that this community should be mourning this man instead of highlighting the one-punch wonder and talking about how great he is, because that seems what the flavor is on the articles that have been done. It's very favorable to him.
Yeah, they are. And I ask you this. What you just heard, does that sound like an aggressive guy, an aggressor? Does he sound like a type of person? Does Jamie Grant sound like he goes up to people and says, with his t-shirt on, talk shiz, get hit? This guy is like a nerd that knows all of the movies. This guy is the guy that works at a software company.
Yeah. He's a professor.
Yeah. With an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why none of this stuff was in the media. There was very little about Jamie Grant, who he really was. It is almost as if they wanted the illusion of, bar fight implications being that it was probably some, trashy people.
Yeah.
Low life people. Homeless people. Or other people in society that we've marginalized to the point that we don't care when they die.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what this reporting has felt like to me.
Yeah, and there's also, here's his mugshot.
Yeah.
And what the media did is they took the mugshot and they cropped it. So this is the picture they used.
Yeah, the media used the picture that cropped out the that ruler that they have on the side there in the mugshots, so that you don't associate this picture of him with him being in jail, right? Because look at his collar. You can't tell that he's wearing, that he's being booked. It doesn't look like he's in a yellow jumpsuit like you see many mugshots do, right?
Right.
In an article in the forum, which infuriated me to no end, titled "Who is Darren Patterson, the Fargo man charged with manslaughter in deadly punch?" Who is Darren Patterson?
Yeah.
I'm going to read to you from this disgusting article so you can get an idea of how it felt to hear them talk about this man. Look at the picture that they used here too. The man accused of throwing what turned out to be a deadly punch outside an upscale downtown bar here last month portrays himself on social media as a successful business owner and family man. Isn't that a great opening?
Yeah. Wow.
He's a great business owner and family man, everybody. The guy that murdered a dude last month. Darren Patterson also offers up a tough guy image, having a passion for fast bikes and cars and hardcore weight training. Patterson, 43, who stands 5 feet 9 inches tall with a bodybuilder's physique, managed to hit 3 men in short order during a disturbance outside the Hodo restaurant and lounge May 27th. Yeah, isn't that incredible that he managed to do that? These people question nothing.
Yeah.
According to the criminal complaint filed in Cass County District Court, he knocked 2 of them unconscious. One of the men, 45-year-old Jamie Grant of Fargo, struck the back of his head on the ground when he fell. Grant died of his injuries 9 days later. On June 20th, prosecutor Sherry Clark announced a change in the charges related to the fight. Patterson is now charged with felony manslaughter in Grant's death. Felony manslaughter. And I think it bears saying to me, when I see a prosecutor bring a charge that is ridiculous, that they know is going to be a higher burden for people to find him guilty, when he should be getting charged with manslaughter. He should be getting charged with murder.
Yeah.
He should be getting charged with homicide. He killed somebody. He walked up to Christopher Sang, knocked him out with one punch, as Archie Ingersoll of the Fargo Forum told you in his story, in his recounting of what he witnessed, a reporter. And he said he knocked him out, Sang fell to the ground unconscious, and then Patterson moved toward Grant and then knocked him out with one punch. Patterson was not being aggressed upon. Patterson was not the one being attacked. Patterson was the aggressor. Once he had punched out one man, why was there any need for more violent display? He did it anyway. That's how he did it. And he was charged with felony manslaughter. He attacked 3 men, not one. Continuing, the article says, additional charges of felony aggravated assault and misdemeanor simple assault remain unchanged. Patterson from Fargo now lives in Las Vegas with his wife, Ashley, and 4-year-old daughter, but travels back here for business and to visit family. We're getting the humanized version of the murderer, But there was never a humanization of his victim.
Exactly.
And I think that is a posthumous way of disrespecting people of color that are killed by white people.
Exactly.
And it's disgusting. His public Instagram account contains a mix of work and family related posts with hashtags #KillingIt and #blessed. One shows him and his wife attending a breast cancer fundraiser in Las Vegas a week before the fight in Fargo. A week before the fight in Fargo, he was doing something philanthropic. Don't you see? Don't you understand the philanthropist about Darren? He's not just a guy that can punch out a bunch of men in short order. He's also the kind of guy that'll wear a pink ribbon for breast cancer. That's astounding, don't you think?
Yeah.
Going on, it says, other photos highlight Patterson's well-muscled and tattooed arms with hashtags #FitDads and crush beep, which is also like the other beep that I beeped out earlier, referring to poop. Crushing stuff, okay? Crushing shiz. So he likes Hulk smash. Hulk smash. He looks like he takes steroids or something. That would not be out of the ordinary. And I don't know why none of this stuff is ever questioned or anybody asked this guy any of this. In September of 2012, post on his wife's Facebook page, he's wearing a t-shirt with the caption, "Talk shiz, get hit." Patterson, reached by the forum via text messages, said he was not able to answer any questions because of the ongoing case. "I apologize, I can't be of more help," Patterson wrote, as there's a whole other side to this story. He can't say anything, but he wants to say, "I'm sorry I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
I just want you to know there's another side to the story." Yeah. Yours is the only side.
Yep.
Darren's is the only side of the story because the other man is dead.
Exactly.
He can't tell a story because dead man cannot talk. Fargo North grad, fitness fanatic. This is the title of the next section. Fargo North grad, fitness fanatic.
Yeah.
Darren Patterson. Get to know him. Fargo North grad and fitness fanatic. And, the alliteration, so it must be real. Our Fargo woman, who's known Patterson for nearly 3 decades, so she must really know the real Darren, said the following. Described him as, quote, "one of my favorite people in the whole world."
Wow.
Becky Chic 42 dated Patterson for about 5 years through high school and beyond. He graduated from Fargo North in 92. She from Fargo South in 93. Chic said besides husband, she considers Patterson her best friend. And he's close to her entire family. Though she's been married for 21 years, Patterson is someone she leans on. "If I have anything personal, financial, spiritual going on, he's kind of my go-to person," Sheik said. Patterson was a wrestler in school and, according to high school yearbooks, was on North track and field teams as a sophomore. At some point, he became involved in weight training. According to a March 2004 story in the Forum, he competed in the Upper Midwest bodybuilding contest at North Dakota State University. There's no hiding anything. And then 30-year-old Patterson said, adding, "You can't hide how hard you worked or didn't work." He's like, "I'm transparent. There's nothing to hide. You can't hide whether or not your super awesome muscles are big."
Yeah.
This piece of propaganda, which was published by the Forum, is insanely disrespectful to the death of this man, to me.
Definitely.
I can't believe we're talking about the same dude. The next section here, excuse me, in the forum is called "He's So Laid Back." Sheik said as Patterson, he's so laid back, Sheik said, as Patterson, who's red-haired and freckled but shaves his head now, got further into weightlifting and tattoos. People would say things under his skin. Most of the time he ignored them, she said, unless they tried to pick a fight. So he's the kind of guy that has been repeatedly bullied for things, but he doesn't let it bother him that someone would say something unless they try to pick a fight with him.
Yeah.
They with him. Perhaps that's why they've described in all these media stories that the three men were the aggressors.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Sheik says she was shocked to hear Patterson described as the aggressor that night outside the Hodo because she'd never seen him start a fight. I can only imagine he was defending himself, Sheik said. It would be very unlike him to harm anyone intentionally. He walked up to the second man after he laid the first one unconscious and knocked him squarely in the head to the ground, killing him. Another lifetime friend, Mike Relt of Fargo, said Patterson is not a confrontational guy. Look at that. 2 witnesses. Mm-hmm. Forget about what Archie Ingersoll, a Forum reporter, witnessed himself outside the bar on the day of the attack. In the past, this guy has never been anything but a big teddy bear, apparently. It takes a lot for him to get upset because he's so laid back, Raelt said.
Wow.
I'm a redhead too. We have bad tempers. But I've never seen him in that predicament, Raelt added. The next section is titled One Punch Homicide. One Punch Homicide. I was on a visit to Fargo where Patterson crossed paths with Jamie Grant, brother Jeff Grant, and their friend Christopher Sang the evening of Saturday, May 27th. According to the criminal complaint, police were called to a fight in progress at the Hodo and found 2 men lying on the sidewalk outside. Jeff Grant pointed to Patterson and told police he knocked them out, and that Patterson had hit him as well. One officer handcuffed Patterson while others attended to Jamie Grant and Sang. Jamie Grant was unconscious while blood pooling on the concrete from a head wound. Sang was first unconscious, then opened his eyes, appearing confused and disoriented. He told an officer he didn't remember what happened. A Hodo bartender told police Jamie Grant, Jeff Grant, and Sang got into a fight with Patterson in the bar. There it is again.
Yeah.
They got into a fight with Patterson. Mm-hmm. Employees sent Patterson out the front door and the others out the side door. A witness said Patterson walked back. There you go, folks. There's the aggressor. Witnesses said Patterson then walked back across the street to the Hodo sidewalk where the punches were thrown. An officer read Patterson his Miranda warning, reminding him of his right to remain silent. According to the complaint, Patterson then gave his account. He told the police the 3 men came at him in the bar and that Jamie Grant hit him in the throat. Once outside, he says, he crossed the street and then came back to get his wife when the three started yelling at him and he yelled back. Interestingly, no one else that was outside or in the bar heard this yelling. I find that odd, but also, why is it that nowhere else is it reported that Jamie Grant threw a punch inside the bar?
Yeah.
Or that he hit Patterson in the bar? Or that the three men came at, in my mind, came at can mean you walked over to me. But if you'll recall, in the previous assault charges that he has on record, he was in a bar fight and he called a guy over to ask him why he was looking at him weird. Mm-hmm. So if he has an MO of beating people that he doesn't like for whatever reason, then a good way to avoid being called the aggressor when you're obviously the 500-pound gorilla in the room is to say they came at me. Well, what happens when you call someone over and they're like innocently walk over to some big guy like that and be like, what's up, dude? And then they're like, what the hell are you looking at? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know what happened in there, but I can't believe no one saw it because the bar was full of people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the bartender obviously saw something, but he didn't say that these details. He did not give these details. This is Patterson talking, right? Patterson said they confronted him again. The men hit him and that he got lucky with two of them. That is not luck. That is not luck. If you believe that BS, I have a bridge to nowhere to sell you. He said he punched each one of them on the chin. That is a boxer move.
Yeah.
That is a trained fighter move. On the chin, you know you're going for the knockout. Come on. Have you not ever watched boxing, people? Mm-hmm. This guy wants to pretend he got lucky. He's done this before. And here's his previous assault. This section is titled Previous Assault. Patterson has been charged with felony assault before for an altercation in a Fargo bar. Wow. According to the court records, the victim, Casey Carr, told police he was at Dempsey's pub downtown August 2010 when a male, later identified as Patterson, motioned for him to come over and asked Carr why he'd been staring at him all night. Patterson asked if Carr had a problem. You got a problem? Does that sound like somebody who is aggressed upon or the aggressor? Carr told police he responded with something he couldn't recall, and then Patterson headbutted him on the nose. You know what that's for? That's a move to kill someone. Headbutting someone on the nose, if you do it the right way, and I'm sure this guy knows how to murder people with his moves because he's shown you that. It is a move that is done to smash in your nose, to shove it into your head,
your brain,
blinding you at the same time that it is likely to kill you from shoving your bone into your brain. Mm-hmm. That is a kill move. That's a kill type of move. That happened to his previous victim, whom luckily got away with his life. Mm-hmm. This had only happened in 2010. Remember, when white men with impunity are allowed to commit crime after crime, they usually end up murdering someone. That's what happens. So, according to the court records, that victim had been headbutted in the nose without warning. This is the type of guy that didn't say anything to him. He just went in and knocked him out. Okay? While Carr initially didn't want to make a police report, that indicates to me that guy was scared.
Yeah.
He was beaten. He was assaulted. Probably had his nose broken. Oh, yeah. His nose was broken.
Mm-hmm.
He got lucky again. He broke bones.
Yeah.
Lucky, huh? Just lucky. Okay. Patterson asked if Carr had a problem. Sorry, excuse me. Wrong paragraph. While Carr initially did not want to make a police report, he didn't want to make a police report against Patterson. He went to the hospital later that night where he said x-rays showed his nose was broken. During a police interview 5 days later, an officer noted a 1-inch horizontal cut on the bridge of Carr's nose and yellowish bruising under his eyes. A few weeks later, a felony assault charge was filed against Patterson. However, in an agreement with prosecutors, he later pled guilty to misdemeanor count of simple assault. And now he's going to go up for manslaughter.
Yep.
Before, he's nearly killed people, gotten away with it. Now he's actually killed someone and is going to get away with murder. This is the kind of man who apparently likes to show off how powerful, how strong he is by smashing things. By hashtag crushing shiz. Right?
Mm-hmm.
By acting like an animal in public. He likes to show off. Before it was Dempsey's. Dempsey's is another less upscale but still upscale bar in downtown Fargo. That's where the Property Brothers got into a bar fight and got arrested. Remember? The Property Brothers?
Yep.
Okay. While Carr initially didn't want... Oh, sorry, I already read that part. A few weeks later, a felony assault charge was filed against Patterson, but he got away with simple assault. Patterson isn't the only one involved in the Hodo fight who has a history of assault, however. See, this is where the media now is going to put out the history of one of the victims, along with Jamie Grant, which was Sang. And I thought this was pretty sick. I'm like, he was assaulted too.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell us, oh, he has a previous history of getting into a fight before. In January 2016, Sang was arrested in connection with a fight in downtown Minneapolis, excuse me. Sang was charged with fifth-degree assault and disorderly conduct, both misdemeanors. Okay, these are not even felony assault charges like the one that the accused assaulter, murderer in this case, had on him before, which was felony assault charges. This is a fifth-degree misdemeanor. According to Hennepin County court records, Sang pled guilty to disorderly conduct, and the assault charges were dismissed. So you needed to bring in the fact that he was arrested and given a disorderly conduct charge in downtown Minneapolis at one point. That can happen to any bar goer if you go to bars. And if you're a person of color, it happens more often because they just like to round people up in situations like that.
Exactly.
The voicemail left by the forum to Sang was not returned. I would have been annoyed. I would have picked up the phone and said, what the hell's wrong with you people? Yeah. Business ties. So Patterson characterized himself as someone who became successful despite a rough start to life. In a Mother's Day 27 post on Instagram alongside a photo of a shiny Audi, he pays tribute to his mom who lives in Fargo. One thing about life for me was never a free ride. In 4th grade, I lived in a trailer park with a hardworking single mom and little brother. She taught us hope, hard work, respect, and no free rides, he wrote. Patterson owned a business in Fargo called Home Run Products, located in an industrial area at 1431 Avenue. Geez, are they doing an ad for this guy?
It sounds like it. Sounds like an endorsement.
This article, this whole article is like this. This whole article is just like this, and it's so disturbing to me. They did say, he says, it sells this business, Home Run Products, sells cookware under the brand name Eurocast, primarily through independent contractors, along with the few other products online. The metal building includes a small warehouse stacked high with boxes, and there's a small office with a handful of employees, where a handful of employees have workstations. On social media, Patterson describes himself as CEO and his wife as president. On his website, Eurocast is billed as the fastest growing direct-to-consumer product company. Company invites prospective salespeople to Vegas for auditions.
Okay.
And they're encouraged to memorize a sales script before arriving in Vegas and are chosen based on their performance. They go on to sell the cookware at big box stores like Sam's Clubs, trade shows, home and garden shows, county fairs, and military bases nationwide. A post on Patterson's Instagram indicates that working for Eurocast is lucrative. Hiring six-figure killers weekly. Be blessed, he wrote in November of 2016. But company reviews posted on the jobs website, Glassdoor, indicates figures may very well be exaggerated. A former contractor posted March 15 said new recruits were lured with promises of six-figure incomes, but travel expenses come out of their own pockets, and every events near your home are difficult to book. Not even the best are making those numbers, wrote a June 1 poster. Another former contractor offered this opinion May 6th. Great product, cold as ice management. The Better Business Bureau of North Dakota and Minnesota lists nearly a dozen complaints against Home Run Products, ranging from defective goods to items ordered but not received. 5 of those complaints were listed as being resolved. The rest were either unresolved or the Better Business Bureau didn't hear back from the customers. A court appearance for Patterson on the initial charges from the May assault is set for June 29th. However, that could be changed because of the amended charges. So this is what we know about this Patterson dude. That he sells cookware, that he wears wife beaters, that he has had felony assault charges that were reduced to a misdemeanor charge in the past, that he has now killed a man with a decent job, a family, and that he has destroyed this man's life, and that the media is making it sound like it's almost a badge of honor.
Yeah. Exactly.
What he achieved. It feels like they're proud of this man's brutality. I don't know if that's just me. This is my opinion. This is how I feel reading these things, and knowing that here, that is what is being touted as okay behavior, not only for this man to get away with, but also for the media, the way they portrayed it. And then the police afterwards started using the story as a slogan to warn people about the risks of bar fights.
Oh boy. So this could happen to you if you go out to the bars. It was like that's right, they did a poster type thing.
Yes, but let me tell you what the poster says.
Yes.
Let me tell you what the poster says. It's got a man behind bars, and he's wearing a dress shirt with a tie. Okay? A button-up dress shirt, like the kind you might wear at Microsoft. You know. And a tie. And it's got police tape going both ways across the front of it with the hashtag aggravated assault is a felony. But I guess if you're Darren Patterson, you might be able to get away with getting a misdemeanor, getting your charges reduced to a misdemeanor when you do punch people, headbutt people in the face, on their nose, smash their nose, try to kill them, and get away with a misdemeanor, and then go on to kill someone else, like Darren Patterson has done. What is disgusting to me about the use of the Fargo Police Department of this poster was that the poster, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my opinion, again, a Mexican crossing lines. If you just tuned in, we're talking about the death of Jamie Grant about a year ago. Darren Patterson, his killer, is going to be coming to trial very soon in the following month. And I want to hold accountable all of those who ignored his death, who swept his death, Jamie Grant's death, under the rug, who refused to say he was a person of color that died, that he was an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Chippewa, that forgot to tell you about all of the accolades, all of his achievements, all of his education, his background, that did not tell you the loss that he represented to this community. And that includes the cops, because I really think that this poster sends a message that it was Jamie's fault, that he died because he got into a fight. Because we've not seen somebody pay for this crime yet, except for Jamie, who paid with his life.
And plus, I see them mounting the defense in here. It was just a bar fight. A guy was mouthing off to me, so I punched him. I didn't know he was going to hit his head and die.
Yeah.
Just walk away. You know, he's saying that, basically, that I didn't kill him. He fell down and hit his head. That's why he died. Had nothing to do with me. I punched him, knocked him unconscious, and he fell right to the ground, and it was concrete, and he...
This is not about how people can get hurt in bar fights, folks. Look at this poster. It says, it was just a bar fight, and the words just a bar fight are highlighted. If you were just looking at the highlighted words, just a bar fight, so I punched him. And then it says, just walk away. Aggravated assault is a felony. Just a bar fight. Let those words ring in your ears. This is not about just one bar fight or bar fights in general. This man, who is trained in weightlifting and likely in some other form of assault tactics, whether that's boxing, MMA, what have you, he has previously been charged with felony aggravated assault, gotten away with it because our justice system, our prosecutors let him and other white men who have a violent history, a violent past of committing homicides, of assaulting in domestic disturbances, like the person that is accused of killing Officer Mosier, the man who was accused of killing Officer Mosier. When those people are allowed to go on, when they're not properly punished for their crimes, they commit bigger crimes. And I believe that this poster reduces the death of a man, Jamie Grant, who was assaulted after Darren Patterson had already felled another man and left him unconscious. He is clearly the aggressor. And you're going to put up a poster from the police department directly talking about this case. This case, it's listed in this article in the West Fargo Pioneer, which I will share in the links to this show so you can go check it out for yourselves. It talks about the fact that following the deadly fight in Fargo, the police department launched an advertising campaign urging bar patrons to think twice before getting into an altercation. And they use this ad. So they're directly telling you they were talking about this specific fight. And in such a way that it detracts from a repeat offender who is a white guy who assaulted 3 men of color. Don't tell me that you cannot infer any kind of racial hatred or racial motivation behind such an attack, or the silence of the media in telling you that those 3 men of color were killed by this white man in an attack on them. This was not just a bar fight. And telling people to just walk away does not address repeat offenders who like to go to bars and pick on people like the bullies that they are, pick on people smaller than them, weaker than them, so they can strut their stuff and show everyone Hulk smash and how powerful they are and beat their chests like this guy appears to like to do. I hope I'm wrong about what's coming for this case in the upcoming months, in the upcoming weeks. But my guess is all of this favorable attention that has been given in the forum and in other publications by the police, by the media, by the silence of these two groups as well. Their omissions, their miscommunications, their misleading stories, and their silence. They have done wrong to Jamie Grant posthumously. They will continue, apparently, to do wrong in the justice system, not just to Jamie Grant, but to all people of color seeking justice for the vigilantes and officers who continue to lynch, kill people of color on the regular with no justice. It just keeps happening. George Zimmerman, it just keeps happening with all of these vigilantes that decide they're going to go ahead and kill our people. This is, it's very troubling. It's very disturbing that this is happening again, so close to home that we're talking about it publicly in the media at our station at 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves, but yet nothing seems to be getting done about the fact that this man is probably going to end up with manslaughter. Just manslaughter.
Yep. In fact, the next hearing is actually it's from a continuous, and it's basically a felony disposition conference. It's not even a trial yet. They're still talking about the the actual felony. You know, I think this is going to go bye-bye. You know, this thing, and I believe that the media is working to make sure that this story is subdued, and we don't hear about the victim's family, or the victim's contribution to this community, and we should be mourning his death and asking for justice. It's something that just goes away. It was just a bar fight. You know, you have nothing to see over here, folks. Don't look this way. I believe the media is working and helping this case by keeping it out of the public's eye.
I see this happen when they do these injustices against people of color. I'm going to mention one of them right now. There's so many things going on. I know y'all want me to talk about. You want me to focus on that Jordan Sheridan TYT thing that came out, where they came to some kind of settlement. I saw that stuff. I got plenty to say, but I'm not going to do it here. And also, there has been a new report about Postville, Iowa. For those of you who don't know what happened in Postville, Iowa, there was a massive ICE raid on one of the biggest meat packers, and it destroyed the town of Postville, Iowa, which was a community, a rural community that depended heavily on the majority of its residents who were immigrants, undocumented immigrants. So from one day to the other, all of the businesses run by these people were boarded up. All of the kids that were going to the schools in those communities, the schools were empty. It really shut down and economically depressed. It became a ghost town overnight in Postville, Iowa. That community was devastated by these raids. The raids were it was one of the largest mass raids in history that's taken place. The people there were detained and processed in cattle barns.
Mm-hmm.
It was some of the most inhumane treatment that I had ever heard of or seen in my lifetime that was done publicly to immigrants. Okay. The outrage of the devastation that was caused by what happened in Postville, Iowa, to the undocumented people, to the residents of Postville, to the people of the state of Iowa. People in the state of Iowa were outraged that federal agency came in and did all of this. And also people were saying, human rights activists were saying, why are the people that are brought here by these companies, that are paid to cross the border, to come here, enticed with offers and opportunities for working at places where you can someday obtain a legal status through the company? Because yes, that happens all the time. And they're the only ones that are punished. The company that defrauds the people that they traffic, because what this is slavery and human trafficking. The people that are trafficked are those who are punished, and the company that does the trafficking has no punishment. Well, in this case, in the case of the story of Postville, Iowa, there was an outcry. People demanded that charges be brought against the people that owned the company that enticed these workers, that brought them here. That led to all of this. And guess what just happened recently in the media? Very quietly. Shh. Nobody heard about it. Nobody talked about it. When this mass raid took place, it was on every television network in America. In America, everywhere. The helicopters, there were dozens of helicopters. Mm-hmm. They had to bring in tons and tons, dozens of buses to bus all of these hundreds and hundreds of people to these fairgrounds, to where they had the cattle barns where they processed them before deporting them. All of this was televised, but this week, when President Trump commuted the sentence for those owners that committed these crimes against these 400 people, nobody said a peep.
Wow.
It was going to be one of the first times in history where all of this talk about how we don't want people hiring these illegals shows you the lies of that, the nonsense of that. Because if it were true that Americans did not want undocumented people working, they wouldn't be enticing them with lies to come here. They wouldn't be promising them things they cannot give them, which is entrapment, which is a form of trafficking, because they are committing crimes and they get away with those crimes because the government of the United States wants the black market of slave labor. They want that slave to not be able to defend itself, to not have any access to legal status to demand their rights as a human being, to not be abused at the end of all of the work that they've done and simply had an ICE raid ordered on them so that the people that had them working there don't have to pay them at all. That is what happens in the media. This happens all the time. The media is complicit all the time in hiding the injustices that are done against people of color. And what is happening to Jamie Grant and his family is no different. Nobody told you he was Native, because Native people's lives are expendable. They are expendable to the police. They are expendable to They're expendable to the people that work in the media, and apparently they're also expendable to the owner of the Hodo.
Mm-hmm.
They're also expendable to the people that were serving at the Hodo.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you have any information about what we've shared with you guys tonight, please send it to us at cindy@kpppfm.com or duke@kpppfm.com. Follow us on social media at media_PPP at Cindy Gomez-Schempp. That's my public page if you want to follow me there. I will have more other reacts videos and other content to share with you on my public page. So thanks for being here once again on A Mexican Crossing Lines with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
And Duke Gomez-Schempp
on 88.1 FM KPPPLP. Good night.